Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to the Explainer. When we think about those really monumental global sustainability goals, like completely halting climate change or reversing mass biodiversity loss, it is incredibly easy to just feel totally overwhelmed, right? We almost always picture these massive international summits, sweeping government treaties, or, I don't know, billion-dollar technological breakthroughs. But what if the absolute most powerful engine for global change is actually sitting right outside your front door? Today, we are going to explore how massive, worldwide environmental transformations actually take root at the local level. We're going to unpack the science and the real human stories behind grassroots initiatives, and we'll see how they are quietly but powerfully reshaping our entire planet.
I mean, it sounds kind of naive, doesn't it? Can a neighborhood garden really change the world? Most of us are totally conditioned to think that these small-scale efforts are just, well, a drop in the bucket. Nice to have, sure, but ultimately insignificant on a massive global scale. But we are absolutely going to challenge that perception today. We are going on a micro to macro journey to see exactly how local dirt on local hands literally translates into measurable global environmental impact.
So, to really understand how this whole thing works, we need to define exactly what we're talking about here. We call them localized environmental actions, or LEAs for short. Now, the absolute key phrase you want to focus on here is citizen-led efforts. We are not talking about massive international organizations or top-down government agencies swooping in to save the day. Not at all. LEAs are driven by ordinary individuals, local volunteers, and grassroots community groups. They are incredibly specific, zeroing in on the exact environmental problems that directly impact a localized community. It's really about neighbors looking at their own backyards and simply deciding to take action. And this brilliantly illustrates a really profound shift in how we actually view environmentalism. By tackling the problems that people see and feel every single day, whether that's awful local air quality, a lack of green space, or, chronic neighborhood flooding, these initiatives effectively turn the everyday citizen into an unexpected hero. But hey, it's not just about having good intentions. True success happens when you combine that passionate, boots-on-the-ground community engagement with rigorous scientific knowledge. It's essentially the perfect marriage of knowing your neighborhood's unique quirks and applying proven environmental science to actually fix them. So, what do these LEAs actually look like out in the real world? Well, they're incredibly diverse. We're talking about everything from community gardens where neighbors grow fresh food, right over to small-scale renewable energy like local solar co-ops. They include local conservation efforts and even regulated systems. Yeah, regulated. That's where grassroots action actually fulfills a legal government mandate, like biodiversity offset programs. It's basically where bureaucracy meets the backyard. And fascinatingly, they even include online-based global projects. Let's look a little bit closer at a couple of these contrasting examples to see how this plays out. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer contrast in how you can actually participate. On one hand, you have the ultimate physical local action, the LA Community Garden Council. This is literally hands-in-the-dirt urban agriculture right in Los Angeles. It empowers incredibly diverse socioeconomic groups, creates physical green spaces, and provides actual fresh food to the community. It is incredibly tangible. Then compare that to digital global action. Platforms like Cool Effect allow individuals to fund vetted carbon reduction projects globally. Or take Ecosia. It's a search engine that just uses its ad revenue to fund global tree planting. So you are participating in a local action digitally, literally just by doing your everyday web searches. Both are LEAs, but they operate in totally different spheres of our day-to-day lives. With such a wildly vast array of projects, you might be wondering, okay, how do scientists and researchers actually study these grassroots efforts to know if they're really working? Because when you're dealing with complex neighborhood dynamics and the sheer passion of volunteers, you can't just rely on crunching numbers and carbon ton outputs. Actually, scratch that. The numbers do matter, but you absolutely have to capture the human side of the data. It is all about extracting and interpreting human stories, local motivations, and intricate community structures. To do that without getting completely lost in the weeds, researchers lean on a qualitative methodology. And please, don't let the academic jargon intimidate you. It's essentially just really good detective work. First up, they gather stories directly from local sources and extract the core facts. Then comes the coding phase, where they sort these various projects into buckets to spot emerging patterns. And finally, they synthesize and interpret what actually makes them succeed or fail. This human-centric, step-by-step approach captures the vital community spirit and the local politics that pure numerical data almost always misses completely.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a solid blueprint. Through all that rigorous research, scientists has discovered the 3 pillars of LEA success. Pillar 1 is feasibility and accessibility. Basically, the barrier to entry must be extremely low. Anyone, totally regardless of their socioeconomic background, needs to be able to jump in. Pillar 2 is trackability and measurability. Even though it's a grassroots thing, you still need transparency to build credibility. People need to see that their hard work is actually doing something real. And finally, Pillar 3 is scalability and integration. For a local project to truly matter on a much larger scale, its design needs to be something that other communities can easily copy, or something that can be seamlessly integrated into broader national conservation strategies. Now, when those 3 pillars are firmly in place, something truly magical happens. We start to zoom way out from the micro-level community mechanics. What begins as just a single neighborhood garden, or maybe a small group of neighbors getting together to install some solar panels, begins to integrate, scale up, and replicate. It transforms from this isolated, feel-good local story into a massive, worldwide collective movement. And the sheer scale of this movement, it might actually surprise you. 40. That is the number of countries where LEAs are actively working, scaling, and making a perceptible, totally measurable global impact right this very second. This is absolutely not some localized phenomenon isolated to just one region or one specific culture. It is a sprawling, global framework powered entirely by local individuals all over the world. So the crucial point is this consensus among the experts. Sustainable development literally must be accomplished at the local level if it is ever going to be achieved globally. I really want to let that sink in for a second. It completely flips the traditional environmental narrative upside down. The ordinary individual, the weekend neighborhood volunteer, the local community garden organizer, these people aren't just minor participants in some global movement. They are literally the fundamental building blocks of worldwide sustainable development. Without the local, the global simply cannot happen. Which brings us right back home to you and your neighborhood. I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to chew on today. What specific environmental challenge in your own community could actually be addressed through a well-designed, localized environmental action? And using those 3 pillars we just talked about, making it accessible, measurable, and scalable, how would you ensure its success? The blueprint is right there waiting. And as we've clearly seen today, the power to change the whole world really can start right in your own backyard. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I genuinely hope you feel inspired to look at your own community through a totally new lens.